Good evening. This is Rick with 45 News Utah coming to you from the basement of my studio. Yeah, we're going to get into something tonight that's going to be a little more intense. I just watched Tucker Carlson and talking about the recent, or actually the admittance that the entire Russia putting bounty on U.S. soldiers' heads was low to moderate and unproven evidence was given back in June 26th. So this is a major announcement. This is, if you want to watch Tucker Carlson, you can check it out for yourself. But this was a major announcement. There was no real evidence of Russians putting bounties on U.S. soldiers' heads in Afghanistan. So that brought a whole other shift show. I call it the shift show. So Adam Schiff was like, he was like an intelligence guy. It was all a lie. It was just there was no evidence. The New York Times posted this, that they basically had evidence that the Russians were putting bounty on U.S. soldiers' heads. We were pulling out of Afghanistan. We were pulling out. Trump said, "I'm done. Just gonna pull them. Stupidity, done. Too long of a war." And then this came out. The report came out. So this was a huge, huge deal for the election. It came out during the election. It was brought up multiple times that the Russians are putting bounties on U.S. soldiers' heads, and the Russians did it. And the Russians, Schiff was out there, MSNBC, CNN ran with it. There, Como was like, "Yeah, this is the Russians. You've got to act and attack them." There was no evidence. The evidence was shoddy at best. Admitted. Even Tucker Carlson said, "This is a complete joke." Tulsi Gabbard said, "This is you're all nuts. Pushing Russia is nuts." So, just to put this in perspective, okay. So it's back in June 26th, I think, of last year. The rumor came out that Putin was paying the Taliban to kill U.S. troops, and it was wrong. Nobody confirmed this. Nobody. There was not a confirmation on this story. It was out there in the media. It was being asked at press conferences with Trump's lady there in the press conference. She was talking about. She's like that. Yeah, you guys. And they're like, "What are you going to do? You're going to attack Russia? We should." Okay, so it didn't exist. If it did, it was just shoddy. Nothing proven. Nothing proven. So you got to remember the way they talked about this stuff. It was like, yeah, well, there's a possibility, and yes, there's strong evidence, and so that came out. So the media is just false. They're just bobbleheads. They're paid by the main media, or the media moguls. Just pay these people to stand up there and just spew whatever they want. It's not free press. This is not the press. This isn't the news. CNN, MSNBC, if they do get some good stories in there, but the rest of it's basically a threat to our democracy. What they're saying about everybody else is doing any kind of anything. It's actually free press. Like, this is free press. You should be able to press. You come out and say, well, this was backed today, and this was backed even by Biden saying himself that there was no real evidence so far that the Russians actually hacked into our wind farm, our power grids, or into the election. There's no real solid proof of that. Biden said it himself yesterday. There is no proof. But if there is, then there'll be consequences. Meanwhile, 10 people were ejected out of the United States and 10 people were ejected out of Russia. That was just what happened today. They were 10 of their major ambassadors, were thrown out of each country. This is getting worse. This is getting worse, constantly getting worse. We don't really need to see this. This is something we don't have to go to war with Russia. And the last thing we want to do is, believe me, go to war with Russia, because there is no evidence. It's admitted by Biden. There's a strong probability, but even Biden said there is no real evidence yet. Just saying. If this Taliban and Russians putting bounties on U.S. soldiers, the evidence is not there. Not there. So this went on through everything that, people screaming for war. We should, this and that and this and that. I even got a message saying that you lost me when you talked about Russia. Russia deserves it because they hacked our elections. They never hacked our elections. They didn't influence our elections. Now, Israel influenced our elections. Yes, they spent a lot of money on our elections, but they're not our enemy. There's a lot of stuff Israel did. The UK, there's millions of posts from people in the UK attacking people that backed Donald Trump. Asia, oh yeah, all of Europe, all over the world, people that were trying to influence our elections were berating and attacking people on YouTube, on Facebook, and even Facebook was saying a lot of stuff, false news, false news. This story for Facebook was false information. This story about the Taliban being paid by Russia to kill U.S. soldiers was false information, misleading and false information. Never flagged. Everything that MSNBC and CNN, these are the two major ones, and the New York Post puts up should be checked. Should be checked by Facebook fact checkers, because everything's spewed. I can turn this on and listen to this. Everybody talking about what happened, with Russians and what the Russians did is all false and misleading information, and is a danger to our democracy. It's a danger to planet Earth, and it could have cost the lives of every living American and every living person on the planet, and the polar bears and the California condors and the electric cars and all the pumps we paid for. All that can be evaporated due to nuclear war. Eliminated everything. So this was actually dangerous, false news. And it was being spewed on national news networks. And it now comes out to be not backed by the intelligence community. They had evidence and it never went anywhere. So now it's being said. You can check it out for yourself. So this is the reason why, guys, we have to have free media. If we don't have free media, we have nothing. Because remember, weapons of mass destruction, and we're going to get into this. This is a very important topic. So we had weapons of mass destruction that was going on in Iraq. We had to, I watched the UN meetings. I watched, here they are in the UN. They're talking about, we got to stop, Saddam Hussein. We have to go in and get those weapons of mass destruction. He has weapons of mass destruction. All of the UN was ready. NATO was ready to go to war. We were ready to just bomb them. And, in Kuwait, they said the Iraqis attacked in Kuwait, and they took babies out of incubators and threw them on the ground. The girl was crying in front of everybody at the interview saying, they threw babies out of incubators on the ground. Every bit of that was proven false. Not factual. Didn't exist. It never happened. We went to war and hundreds of thousands, a million people died because of false, misleading, unproven information. That is the real threat to our democracy. That's a threat to the world. And right now, the threat that Vladimir Putin's being told that he did this and he hacked our wind turbines and he hacked our election and there is no evidence. Until it's factually proven and backed by credible sources like the intelligence community, which I still have absolutely no idea what Adam Schiff's going to do. Adam Schiff is it's a Schiff show. I watch him sit and cry and talk about, this stuff, this meddling in the elections. Israel meddled in our elections. Sorry, guys. It's true. You guys and everywhere else in the world. You Canadians, you meddled in our elections. And Trudeau opens his mouth. He meddled in our elections. He could have told his, another American, congressman that he wanted to have, Donald Trump as president. That's meddling in our elections. So, in a global community with global, kleptocracy going on, with mass amounts of trillions of dollars being stolen, we're talking 10, 12 trillion dollars being stolen in funny money, fake money, stolen through COVID. And we're listening to these bobbleheads, this media that they should not be allowed to do this. They have lied, false, misleading information. Proven this has happened over and over again. Proven. And they're censoring guys like me. Project Veritas. That's Twitter. So Facebook is actually, and I'm going to say it. Facebook is actually probably the freest platform there is left. Mark Zuckerberg may be a lot of things, but one thing he isn't stopping me from saying the truth. And when he does, if he puts a warning on this, like he would have false information about the Russians weren't hacking our elections and that they didn't have anything to do with putting bounties on American soldiers when we tried to pull out of Afghanistan during the Trump administration. They did censor that. They were told they had to do that. They're being put in front of Congress. What are you going to do about Russia? Until you have proof. Everybody that said that and got in front of Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey and everybody else and demanded them to stop false information. Now take a big step back. Where's the false information? Is this babies being thrown out of incubators again? Is this an attack on a Baghdad hotel that didn't exist while the news reporter was talking about bombs blowing up in the background and he wasn't even there? Yeah, that was factual. He wasn't there. That's false, misleading information. So I had to do this video. And if it upsets you that Russia did not hack our election, they did. There's no proof they influenced our election. There was no proof for 4 years that they did it before. Zero proof. There's speculation. And they never did put bounties on U.S. soldiers. I'll tell you what they did. They did destroy ISIS in a hard, and they beat them to the ground along with the Syrian army. They did that. But if that offends you, I'm sorry, until you get the information, the facts right, you're false information too. By spewing that they have information that they don't have any proof. There's no proof. And if it is, it's shoddy at best. You know, it hasn't, you have to go through a system of checks and balances to get to that point to make a claim like that against a nuclear armed nation that has the potential of pretty much just what they own of ending all life on planet Earth. They have that large of an arsenal of nuclear weapons, not to mention what we have and India has and everybody else. So, you know, until it goes through a legal test that the information is correct and accurate, the State Department, anybody has no right to be saying anything. And if they do, they're running speculation. And the New York Times, especially on that story, should be at least fined and possibly censured. And they should possibly be losing access to platforms like digital platforms unless their facts are checked 110%. So that's my thought for tonight. Hope you guys have a great night. Thanks for watching, and there'll be more to come because this is just getting crazy, getting weird. Talk to you later.